You missed the fun one last time, Mike.
Yeah, that's what I understand. That's what I understand. Did it go late?
It was long.
It was long.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been up to it. I was just under the weather like crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, if you weren't feeling well, it wouldn't have been a good idea.
Are we ready? And I'm assuming the other commissions are, the other commissioners that don't have tags out have been excused?
Yes.
Okay. Would like to welcome you to our Planning Commission meeting today, March 11th, 2025. We will begin today with an invocation by Commissioner Callis, and then Commissioner Danielson will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Father in heaven, we bow our heads before thee as we meet in this Planning Commission meeting for our fair city, Lindon, and we're thankful for the opportunity to gather tonight. We're thankful for the governmental structure of this city and for the residents of this city and for the love we all have for our community. We pray that as we listen to those things tonight and are instructed, that we will be careful and make wise decisions that are best for the community and for those trying to develop and to accomplish things in our city. We are thankful for all that we have been given. We ask thee to be with those commissioners that are not here tonight, that they may be with us next time. We say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll begin tonight with an audible roll call of the commissioners. Mike Marchbanks.
Here.
Rob Callis.
Here.
Steve Johnson. Here. Scott Thompson.
Here.
Karen Danielson.
here.
And would like to excuse Commissioner Sharon Call, Commissioner Jared Showers, and Commissioner Ryan Doan, who are not here with us today. The next item on our agenda, item number 2, is to approve the minutes from our last meeting on February 25th. The commissioners have received these minutes beforehand and have had a chance to review them. Are there any corrections or additions seen by any of the commissioners that need to be made?
No.
No.
I didn't see any. If they're good, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve as printed.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. The next item on our agenda is item number 3. This is a time for public comment. If there's anybody here that wishes to address the commission on an item that is not on the agenda, this is the time the commission allows public comment. Is there anybody here for that purpose? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to item number 4 on our agenda. This is a site plan reapproval for Stringtown Station at approximately 40 North Geneva Road. The applicant is Bill Fairbanks, and if you're here, if you want to come and then sign your name in and sit at the front here. Our presenting staff is Britton, and so we will turn the time over to Britton to go through the presentation.
All right, thank you, commissioners. So you might recall this similar site plan being brought out to you around September of last year. So since then, the site plan's been sent to a new applicant, which is Bill Fairbanks, and he's made a number of different adjustments to the site plan since the last time that you've seen it. taking into account a lot of the things that were mentioned during the previous meeting. Earlier today, he also sent out a letter which was sent to all of you. If you haven't had a chance to review it, I printed off a couple of copies for you if you want to pass that down. Well, among the main changes that are happening here, it's still going to be a 8-unit office warehouse building, about 27,000 square feet. And a lot of the main concerns that were brought up in the previous meeting were related to things like landscaping, particularly this landscaping strip that goes along through here. And so there's a couple of modifications that was made to this site plan to allow for a little bit more, which we'll go into in a little bit. They adjusted where the building rests compared to the last one, where now it's a little bit closer and goes up to the property line on the back here, as well as changing the drive approach from 26 feet to about 25 feet. You might notice as well that there is a bit of a lack of the interior landscaping between the parking and a little bit more parking. That's because, I guess the city's okay with that because the applicant has agreed to landscape this property owned by Lindon City, as well as have a project monument sign right here. And with that interior landscaping here, they would actually be exceeding the requirements for that interior landscaping. And so we felt it wasn't necessary for them to have those additional landscape islands throughout there. Some other things of note as well regarding the landscaping is that they still haven't sent in a landscaping plan for this. However, we added the requirements that would be on the landscaping plan as conditions for approval tonight. Since the previous meeting, they did actually add a little bit more extra feet here of landscaping to be about 15 feet compared to previously. Now, normally it would require it, I guess our city code would require it to be about 20 feet along here, but staff feels like the 15 feet would be adequate for this specific property. And the main reason why is, if I can bring your attention to this cross section of Lindon, or I guess Geneva Road. I guess I'll show for comparison. This is what exists now, about 2 lanes going each way with some turn-off space here and a shared lane. Within the next 20 years or so, there might be the potential.
There's actually no time frame.
Oh, okay.
This is not planned to be, UDOT has no plans to expand Geneva Road into 3 lanes in each direction in our area of Lindon. It's not on any maps.
Yep. So there's no existing plans for this current extension. If there were to be a expansion on Geneva Road, it would be about this 104 feet of this cross section here. And to show, and I guess put in perspective where that would lie, should it be put in. This is kind of extending, I guess I'll show you here on this 16-foot line is where that road would rest, just about right where that parking is. And then that 20 feet landscaping requirement is how much landscaping essentially there would be if we would require that 15 feet to be 20 feet for that landscaping strip. And so because of that, we feel like the 15 feet here would be adequate to take into account any future roadway widenings for Geneva Road there.
With that cross-section, we don't know what UDOT's going to require. We just took our best guess with our engineering department and said, we think it would be about 104-foot wide cross-section. So that would go into the parking there, that 104 feet, if they were to expand it. So even if you were to require 20 feet of landscaping along the street and they were to one day expand, it would wipe out the landscaping either way.
One question on that is, when you draw that line back, that red line, the 16 feet, with that cross-section, does that include the sidewalk in the cross-section?
It does, yes.
So they would be able to expand the road, still have the sidewalk, it would just get rid of all the landscaping?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify. Thank you.
And the way we measure landscaping, the city ordinance measures it on the back of the sidewalk. And so that's why you see the 20 feet closer to that 16, because the 104 feet is measured from across the street from the curb, and that's where it ends up. But the landscaping is always measured in the back of sidewalk.
Thank you.
Rob, I think you had a.
I think you answered that in that question.
Perfect. Sort of related to the sidewalk here, the current width of the sidewalk, I believe, is about 4 feet. And the applicant has agreed to, along with this site plan approval, to increase the sidewalk to be about that 6 feet that we would normally require for sidewalk along Geneva Road there.
And that's a UDOT requirement, that when there's sidewalk next to the curb, because of the proximity to the street, they require a 6-foot sidewalk. The 4-foot was put in, but the property owner just put it in. He never got approval from UDOT or the city, and so the wrong width of sidewalk was put in along Geneva.
And am I reading that right, that because of its being 6 foot, then we have to go around telephone poles versus, it looks like the 4 foot fit in front of the telephone pole, but with the 6 feet, we go around.
That's correct.
Okay.
And our engineering department was okay with that, rather than having those power poles moved.
So yeah, that's the site plan. As for the plan for the structure of the building itself, I guess the outside design of it, the applicants put together this nice illustration of what they see as a vision for Stringtown Station here. They are looking to have the building be about 30 feet tall, which is still compliant with requirements for light industrial uses here. And then in terms of design requirements, they do meet the requirements of the earth tone colors, as well as some fenestration in the front here. There's no plans for windows on the sides, so the commission can note that. But yeah, compared to any regular heavy industrial property, the design standards that we'll have for the typical building will be a lot more lenient. And then you can see here they have plans to have a sign indicator with that monument there in front of the space to really add a lot of character to what the site should bring to this area, as well as some much needed landscaping, which will be nice to see there. But other than that, I'm happy to answer any additional questions that you might have.
When you said there was no windows on the side, what were you referring to? You mean on the side of the garage doors or on the side of the building?
Yeah, so that'll be
The end.
kind of on the end, and then in the rear as well. There is no plans for windows through there. The way that the building is kind of structured is so there'll be about 8 units in total, and they'll have indicated like this will be the first unit, the second, and then the third, each with a little bit of office space and then some use for warehouse purposes as well.
Between the garage doors, I assume those are garage doors. Are there
Yes.
windows there by the doors?
Above the door.
Above the door?
Not my turn.
That's okay. Is that what that indicates?
Yes, I believe, yeah, where that is, that should be some windows
Maybe Bill,
along there.
can you answer that, Bill? Is it, so we got a garage left to right, or right to left. We got a garage door and then 2 entry doors?
Yes, and then the garage door, so there's.
Okay, and they have glass and,
Yeah,
okay.
There's glass above that.
yeah, there's glass above the garage doors. The garage doors will be about 14 feet high, and then they'll have glass above.
Oh, okay.
Question for you. It seems like last time we were concerned the last time this came before us regarding the potential of the road being widened. You're indicating that's not the case. However, there was also an issue we talked about how does this sidewalk align with the sidewalk to the north? It seems like it was wide, it was much wider than what we had planned, and so that we, because it seems like the property to the north had already been forced to set theirs back a certain distance to meet the requirement, and then this one was asking to be different.
And let me see if I can pull up the, here. So
Now, this should match the building to the north.
so this building to the north should have that sidewalk.
So those will
If you
Along through
scroll
there.
into that, scroll a little bit further. No, we're down here.
Oh, down over here.
You can tell that there's a difference in the sidewalk width, so this will match the existing 6-foot sidewalk.
So the sidewalk to the north is 6 feet.
Yes.
That may be what I was concerned with. I remember there was some discussion that the sidewalks wouldn't match,
Yeah, but now they will.
but now they will, and there's we are comfortable that there's no future planning problem at this location.
Yes. I mean, UDOT has it on their, it's like their 2045 plan to widen Geneva Road,
To 1600
to
north.
1600 north, but it's not on any plans to widen it north of 1600 north. And so, I mean, right now, we're 20 years out, but it's not on a plan for anything further. And if they did widen it, if you'll scroll out.
If they did, all we do is lose,
Well, it would impact the whole corridor significantly. If you'll go to the north a little bit. So that 104-foot right-of-way would go right next to that building, right next to that building, that one. If you'll scroll down, it would probably take that building out. You come into further issues, it takes out all of this parking, all of, half of that parking. So it would be a huge, undertaking for them to widen that to 3 lanes in both directions. If you go even further north, I think you'd be up next to this building, and so, so I don't know what UDOT would do in that situation. When you're seriously be like 2 feet away from buildings at that point, so.
okay, thank you.
Is there anything more from staff? Or is that,
Nope, that should be about it.
okay?
Unless you have any other further questions.
Anything the applicant wants to add before we ask questions?
Well, I've taken a few notes here, and I've kind of covered some of that in here, and it's been covered by Britton as well. Another reason we took the islands out, you'll probably understand this, is in the middle of winter, they really get awkward as far as snow removal and stuff like that goes, and it's just so much easier to not have them there and have the landscaping somewhere else. You still have the landscaping, but that way you can clear They get taken out either way, I can tell you right now. The snowplow drivers will take them out. They have to put them back in. It's a long and narrow property, it's an awkward property to do much else with. I think we've efficiently done the best we could do. The site plan that we have here is actually only half of the building. The other half would just be a reverse of that further down. I didn't want to bring more paper in, it's too heavy. And then the rear windows and even some of the side windows is a fire code issue. You know, you want to keep a good firewall between you and the next property owner, so that's why there aren't any windows in the back. But we're trying to get, you know, in the front, we're trying to have some daylight that shows through there, but a lot of warehouses don't have a lot of windows. We've just tried to dress it up a little bit. It's you know, it's in a very open place where it'll be seen and hopefully looked at, and people will say that, you know. Sorry. I'm sorry, I'm not even thinking about the mic here. I can just brush through these real quick. He's pretty much covered everything. Like they said, the sidewalk should have been 6 feet originally. The curb and gutter was put in as part of the last widening of Geneva Road and the improvements that were put into Geneva Road, and the drive approaches as well. That was all negotiated as part of that. As far as going up Center Street, there are no improvements there, but we've drawn those into the site plan. The parking lot setbacks and landscape, they've talked about that. The corner piece. So originally, I don't think that was included in anything. We want to landscape that, make that so it blends in with everything else, even though the ownership stays with Lindon City. We feel like we can make that look really nice and add to the building as well. So that's kind of what we thought there. And one other thing that that hasn't been covered but was discussed and we've agreed to is an easement all the way through the parking lot for not just for our sewer laterals and water laterals, but for a main line, water line, and sewer line that would actually be city-owned, city right-of-way for, and probably would be upsized quite a bit from what we would put in normally, but we would work with the city on that to put it in so they don't have to go out into Geneva Road to accomplish that. And then I think that was everything other than the access points. There are 2 access points. They're already there in Geneva Road, in the curbing that's already on Geneva Road. And then we had the 3rd access point, which is up on the right side there, that we wanted to have in there, and that needs to be 2-way traffic too, just to handle any trucks or heavier equipment that might go through there. But there is a railroad track to the side of it. UDOT will have to sign off on our final plans, but it is not used very often. I see trains go in there once in a while to the truss plant. I don't know, maybe once in a while. I might have seen one time in all the driving I've done around here, I've seen them actually push a train car into the property just to the east of this. So, as far as train traffic goes, that's not going to be a big deal there, and we're far enough away from the intersection that visibility and everything else should be all right. So, and this is Brian. This is my son and partner in crime or whatever we do. Anyway, we work together all the time. We're working together on this too.
So I think you mentioned this, but I'm assuming it looks like you're really on the back of that's right up on the property line.
It is.
And so for fire code, you can't have windows unless
Right.
you make them fire resistant.
too
They're
much.
very
Yeah.
expensive to do that. So that makes sense why you'd do that, right? Because
Yeah.
in order to make this work, you've pushed them right up to the property line.
Yep.
Okay. Questions from the commissioners for the applicant or for staff?
Maybe just a question of staff. This is a what was it titled?
Oh, this will be, sorry,
It says reapproval, but it's a new approval of a site plan.
It's a new one. So the previous stuff what was approved in
Yeah,
that,
he rescinded his application, the last time you saw this in September, you continued it, you didn't approve it.
okay,
And so, Mr. Colazzi, he rescinded his application, and, Mr. Fairbanks applied for a new application.
that's what I was asking, so that answers.
So this doesn't have any of the old restrictions or anything from the old application? Okay.
We tried to address, we went back and actually reviewed the meeting, tried to address everything that was brought up there, but we are buying this property from John Colizzi, so
Okay.
we will be the owners on it, at least for now.
Where it goes around the power poles, it says stamped concrete or exerscaping. Are you thinking of doing one or the other?
A mixture, but, you know, and I'll maybe state my reason there. It's hard to keep landscaping up on any road.
That's what I
And
wondered
we've got
about.
property in Midway where the snow plows just blow salt and snow all over it. And, you know, especially along Geneva Road, you just have to put something durable in there. We don't want to overdo the landscaping there, but we want it to look nice. And we want to be sensitive to water issues. We don't need to have the greenest lawn in town right there, or the greenest shrubs or anything else, but some kind of a good mixture there, so.
Right, something that's not just gonna be forgotten and start looking bad is what I was thinking, right? Yeah, that sounds good. It looks really nice, I like the design.
I brought that because we paid a lot of money for that, and you're the only ones that have seen it. We're gonna hang it in our office.
I guess my only question on I think it looks really nice, but does the tower meet?
No, tower won't be
Okay.
part of that.
I'm just saying if we need to address that or not, because it's in the picture, but I like it, but I don't think it meets code.
Right, Bill and I have already been talking about, and it's not even in the right location, so it's gonna go over on our property. With his frontage, he can do a 16-foot tall monument sign. But yeah, we've been discussing that.
So it just has to look, whatever that requirement is.
This is to make the picture look prettier.
Okay,
We're-
perfect.
We're aware of that. The mountain's a lot shorter in here too, it's a dome.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about, and I've forgotten, remind me, why does the city own that corner?
So
And
we
why do
had-
you want to keep it?
Yeah, so we had a sewer lift station that used to be right there. And so it's, that intersection is planned for a traffic signal with UDOT. And so UDOT will not, they won't put a signal in an easement area. And so we're waiting for UDOT, so we have to own the property for the signal.
Okay,
And so once that is determined where the signal will go, then we'll probably sell the rest of it off the
All right.
bill for a.
I remember we
Screening
talked
deal,
about
so-
that, but I couldn't remember what it was.
We're gonna put a food truck out there when we buy it.
Okay. Any other questions?
So it looks like the only two things that are not standard in this project is the landscaping, but they've moved it down to the corner. So we're still meeting that, and then it's just the 15 instead of 20 feet.
That's correct. And the light industrial zoning allows the planning commission to give an exception on the 20 feet of landscaping, or any landscaping requirements.
So, just a question, just as we're does the replacement on the corner, would that meet the 20 feet requirement? Or would it meet the 15 plus the islands, or, I'm just curious, is that enough to even meet the 20?
Probably not to meet all of the 20, but with taking away if you were to say that's part of the interior landscaping and part of the 20, it'd probably be fairly close.
Pretty close, okay.
Yeah.
And we gotta consider too, we've also been talking all along about forcing landscape when where there's water issues. and-
No, and
and all that.
I totally agree. I just was trying to think out the calculation, so I just understand what the calculation is. It more than compensates for the interior that we've taken out, but it might not totally compensate for the 5 feet, which we have the authority to reduce it by. Okay. Any other questions?
I think it looks great. I even like the name of bringing the old Stringtown back. That's what it was down there on Geneva Road 100 years ago.
Yeah.
There was more stuff down there than there was on State Street at a time.
And,
You said that monument will go in that corner then, probably, at least at some height, because I like it.
I like it too, I just
Right.
didn't know, I just know
Yeah,
that our sign
yeah.
ordinance is weird, and so I don't, you know.
We'll
I
work
just want to make sure that we don't give an impression that we're approving something that is maybe not approved.
Signs are totally different. You don't give site plan approval for a sign. It's a totally different, building permit application.
Okay.
Perfect. We'll trust that staff and the applicant can work that out, make it look good.
Yeah.
That's our intention.
Okay. If I don't have any more comments or questions, I'd call for a motion.
I'd make a motion.
Okay.
I move to approve the applicant's request for site plan approval for the property located at 40 North Geneva Road with the following conditions. 1, the 3 parcels will be consolidated into 1 parcel prior to final site plan approval. Number 2, the applicant will continue to work with the city engineer to make all final corrections to the engineering plans. Number 3, the plans will meet zoning and development specifications as found in the Lindon City Development Manual. 4, if required, complete or post an adequate improvement completion assurance warrant and post required warranty assurance for all required public infrastructure improvements. 5, final building and site design will meet the requirements of the light industrial zone and applicable development requirements as found in Title 17 of the Lindon City Code. 6, the site will meet landscape requirements with a reduction to the 20-foot landscape strip to 15 feet along Geneva Road. 7, a landscape plan will be submitted with calculations for vegetation percentages and interior landscaping. 8, a sidewalk easement will be provided for those areas where the sidewalk goes around the power poles. Number 9, a licensing agreement to be approved and signed for use of the city parcel number 14:065:0057. Number 10, city staff will review the final landscape plan for compliance. And number 11, all items of the staff report.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second it.
Can I ask one quick question? I apologize if this is out of the normal. I'm not sure where I'm supposed to interrupt or ask a question. I own the property directly to the east with the railroad tracks.
Hey, so, let's get it on the microphone.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
So,
I may be completely doing this wrong.
let's-
in here.
we have a motion and a second, but I'm going to hold the vote for just a second. And we're going to listen to one public comment. And if you'd come speak into the microphone and give us
Sure.
your name so we can get you for the record.
I apologize if this is not the normal way to do it.
How are you? Good to meet you. My name is Brian Richardson. I own the property just to the east with the railroad tracks. And I just had a couple questions, and I apologize if this is not how it works, but you were about to approve, and I had a couple questions. My questions are primarily drainage. We use the railroad tracks daily. They're not on occasion. We average 3 rail cars a week on that property. And I remember when your property was actually a pond. Before Nichols on the north side developed theirs, there was cattails and a physical pond there. And we still get, it's a natural drainage. So we get water from Lindon City's property, because they built it up a couple years ago. It comes off their property, goes across our railroad tracks, and then onto the property we're discussing today. If this was developed and built up, where will the water go? I'm concerned that my railroad tracks will just become a natural river, from water coming from the east and hitting new buildings with nowhere to go. There's also no curb and gutter along Center Street. So water that comes down the street actually turns into my property and into the property we're discussing. And if that, again, if property is built up, the natural flow would be the railroad tracks. So with nowhere for water to go, that's my main concern. I don't care if there's a building on the property or how they develop it. My only concern is drainage.
Can I address that? Maybe I can
Yeah.
answer that.
And sorry again if I interrupted.
Thank you for the question.
We're glad to address that. We've actually talked about that. Our building will sit up above your railroad track level, and it is our intention down at the footing level to put a perforated pipe along the whole back of the building, and then cover that with gravel, and then cover that with a netted material that, you know, that just filters what water would go into it. That would all be at one level. That will come to either one or two different points along the back of the building, and then we'll go under the building and out to the detention basin, which would be out along the front of the sidewalk. And so any drainage that would come against the building, we're concerned about that too, because it could compromise the building. And so our intention is to have that drainage, have a way to get out and go on down to Geneva Road, so.
So there will be a place for water to escape that area?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, that's my main concern.
And you can make that part of your motion if you want to. We've already talked about that a little bit in some of our meetings also.
It's just a naturally wet area, like cattails grow there.
Yeah.
Like it's a natural drainage area.
Yeah, we're concerned, you know, that we don't wanna be sitting in a bog either, so. I think that would be lower than your tracks probably, you know, cause we're gonna go into the ground 4 feet, 3 feet anyway, plus the footings, and then, that would be a good natural place for it with just the gravel there, and that's all it would be along the back of the building.
And then it would just travel under your new
Yeah.
buildings?
Yeah, just designated, probably 2 different locations anyway, it should take care of everything, so.
Those were my concerns, was the drainage.
Okay. Thank you. So we do have a motion and a second. Does anybody want to amend a motion, or do you think we're good as stands? Do you think we're good?
I think we're fine.
Our city engineers are reviewing the plans.
Drainage plan. Sounds
So-
good.
It'll be noted in the minutes, and I think that the city engineers will watch for it, so,
Sorry to interrupt you.
no.
Nope.
Okay,
Appreciate your input.
Yeah, no worries.
any other comments or anything? If not, I have a motion and a second. I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Your motion carries unanimously. Your site of plans approved. That will be a beautiful addition to Geneva Road, so we're looking forward to it. And it's glad you've met your neighbor, and you two can work together to make it work well.
We like to keep good neighbors,
So,
happy
Okay.
neighbors, so thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to item number 5 on our agenda. Find it here. This is another site plan approval for Summit Ridge at approximately 300 north and 2,000 west. The applicant is Scott Babcock, and it looks like you've got a couple other people with you. That's great. And our presenting staff is going to be Mike. So we'll go ahead and turn time over to staff, and then we'll go from there.
And Scott couldn't be here tonight, so these 3 gentlemen are
Oh.
representing him, and they can introduce themselves in a minute, but. So this project is located at approximately 300 north and 2,000 west. It's, about a 30,000 square foot, office warehouse building. They're proposing 13 office warehouse, units in the project. You can see the aerial photo here. Just south of I-15, the surrounding zoning is light industrial and mixed commercial, regional commercial. I don't know why, but the zoning of the light industrial zoning goes to the middle of I-15, and so really it is surrounding by light industrial on those sides before it is mixed commercial, and then you've got the vacant property on the west side here of 2000 West. So,
Mike, that's where the topsoil operation's been for a long time? Yeah.
yep. So the site plan. Sorry, it's just being a little slow. So here's the proposed site plan. A few things about it. With parking, they're required to have a minimum of 92 parking spaces. They're proposing 98. The only entrance to the site has quit working. I think we lost our battery. But the main access from the only access from the site is from 2000 West. That will be improved there. The site has good circulation around all four sides of the building. Now, going back to our previous, application about the landscaping along the street, they don't have frontage along a public street. So what they're doing is proposing that to landscape around the perimeter and then the interior landscaping. Now, the landscape plan didn't include a percentage on that, so that was a condition that they break down the percentage of landscaping for us. And so that's found in the motion and in the staff report. So it does show that they're providing 3,900 square feet of landscaping, but we'll have them break down their percentages of what is vegetation and things like that. The light industrial zone requires that there be a minimum of 1 acre of property. This property is 2.32 acres. The building, there's a front setback requirement of 20 feet, and again, that's hard to determine off this project, but the minimum setback from all corners of the building is just over 35 feet, 35.9 feet from all property lines, so they meet all setbacks. This is the building's proposed to be a precast concrete building. Let me pull up the renderings. So this rendering here where my mouse is, that's the one you would see from 2000 West as you enter the project. A very attractive building. It's again a concrete tilled up precast building. Does have canopies over each one of the entrances. They've got a composite wood material look to it as well. That'll add some variation and texture to the building that's required. The overall building height is 32 feet, which meets our city ordinance. The max height is 48 feet in that zone. So other than that, it looks like they meet all the site plan and building elevation requirements. Do you have any? Here's the landscape plan for your review. You can see it's well landscaped with lots of trees. They are in what we call a transit zone, which is the area next to I-15. So they're required to have trees every 30 feet along I-15 is kind of a sound barrier. And they meet the tree requirement and other things that for landscaping for this project. Any questions on the site or building before I move on? Okay. The major issue, and this has been addressed in your staff report, but sorry, these are big files, and so it's taking a minute to load. So UDOT is planning a frontage road concept between Pleasant Grove Interchange and the 1700 West, is that right?
Is it 2000? Oh, 2000.
Or
2000.
2000 West, I think, yes, 2000 West, sorry, my mind just went blank. So they're looking at this frontage road concept to go between Pleasant Grove Interchange and 2000 West. And then 2000 West would also act as a off-ramp and an on-ramp as well. And so UDOT has also completed an environmental study on this. They've recently purchased a bunch of property on the St. John's development in Pleasant Grove. They're currently working with doTERRA on purchasing right-of-way over there. And so this project, if you'll notice, this property is located in this corner right here where the on-ramp in this bottom left or bottom right corner where that on-ramp will come across the property. This map here shows let me zoom in a little bit more so you can see it. This map shows in green where the right-of-way would be needed for UDOT, and then the red and yellow lines show what the slope angle or the slope area that they would need for that, to build it up for the frontage road, or sorry, for the on-ramp right there. And so UDOT has corridor preservation funds. They have reached out to the property owner. They would like to purchase the entire site. If that doesn't work, they would like to at least purchase what is needed for the road, or for the on-ramp there. And so, as we've talked with our city attorney, that's not something we can require as part of this site plan approval, that area be set aside or dedicated for I-15. That needs to be something that UDOT and the property owner works out. But we highly recommend that they work together so that, you know, we're not seeing this beautiful building demolished in a few years. So with that, we have recommended a number of conditions for approval that's in your staff report for your review. And if you have any questions, I'd be glad to go over those with the applicant as well.
What is the applicant's position on possibly selling a portion or all of this lot to UDOT? What is your position?
That's exactly what we're working with them right now, is from their recommendation as to what to present to you guys to move forward with what's gonna be the best usage for the property. We're definitely in communication with them probably for the last year, trying to work back through this. So if they are interested in purchasing, we're open to that. They don't have an exact time frame as to when funds will be allocated to that on-ramp that's there. So that's another little bit of a challenge for us right there, is kind of finding the time. But they have found some funds, they want to purchase some of it. So we are working with that side of it with those guys.
So you're not opposed to it, but then what caused you to continue to proceed forward with this, knowing you were in negotiations with them over the on-ramp?
UDOT's recommendation. They actually said move forward with what you have, you know, right here, and kind of work that direction. So
Probably to see what's possible
Yeah.
with the current zoning and whatnot, to where the UDOT would know how to compensate them if any taking takes place.
Would you prefer that, they've mentioned a couple methods, one, to take just as much as they need and leave you a small amount, or take the entire parcels? What's your preference?
we've went back and forth on it because of the scale. We've done multiple layouts. It doesn't work as well with a tilt-up type building to shrink our square footage right there. And we've kind of went back and forth to say, you know, 3 or 4 units versus the amount that we have now is difficult with everything that, you know, on the development side. We wouldn't be opposed to sell everything to them, but on the other side, we'd love to build this too. We think it could be a great little spot right next to the freeway, you know, with them not having a date, you know, so we're open to both ideas.
Have you, in your negotiations or in your talking with UDOT, I'm not asking for a number, but they're obviously offering something. Are you comfortable with what they're offering, or are you guys diametrically opposed?
No, we're very close. The two pieces were originally separated, and so we brought those together. Originally, they wanted the very top section. That's all the amount that they had in their budget. But since then, they've said, hey, you know, we're open to more. We found more in the budget to look at that. It's just part of that approval process that we need to go through with you guys on that side of it, you know, to look at it. It's kind of a tough question because I don't really have an answer from UDOT, and
Right.
you know,
I understand.
other than you know, we want to build it if it works out.
Go ahead.
And this may be to staff. I feel real awkward approving a building that may be torn down here. I mean, it's our tax dollars. UDOT doesn't care how much it's gonna cost. It's our tax dollars. It seems so weird approving a building that will likely be torn down in a few years.
Yeah, and we had to go through this exact same thing with Mark Weldon over here on 400 North.
Right, I remember
and
that.
my mind is going so blank, 2800 West. Vineyard Connector will come through this back area here, and we'll clip the back part of this building here. And so that was the same thing we went through that time. Mark was not a willing seller, and that's part of the requirements. To be able for UDOT to use corridor preservation funds, there has to be a willing seller. And so Mark was not a willing seller, and so this one, they'll have to come back and probably take part of that building when they put Vineyard Connector in. But yeah, I understand how you're feeling. We reviewed this with Brian, and he's like, we can't hold this up. It's better we just move forward and then let the two parties negotiate.
I guess I'm confused as to why you would even think about pursuing this if it thought it was gonna be taken.
Well, location, it's a great project, there's a demand for the product, and
No question about that.
Scott's family has owned the land, for so long, that it made sense for us to kind of pursue a development on that side, especially with the growth that we have there and the demand for that product.
And if it's taken in 3 years?
It won't go in 3 years. I don't think they have a 10 or 15 year, they don't have anything.
We say it won't, we never know.
Yeah,
I mean, look at that Pleasant Grove exit. It is so packed right now.
And then just north of this exchange here, a couple thousand homes are going into PG
Apartments.
right there.
Yeah, and UDOT, if you look at the screen, they've recently purchased this parcel and this parcel from St. John's, and then they're working with doTERRA on purchasing these, a portion of
Yeah.
those 3 parcels.
So they still have it in their mind that they're gonna
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah, they're going to do it. It's not a funded project yet, and so they are probably out, a number of years.
Welcome to the world of UDOT.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, they always joke with us, it's 10 years, and so, but sometimes it's 20, who knows? Selfishly, we would like it to go in sooner and later, because this off-ramp will provide great access into our Lindon Village area.
Yeah.
I can tell you that you build it and lease it, and then UDOT comes to you, there's gonna be an argument of how much the value is.
But it's almost easier to argue it when you've got an income approach there from an appraiser standpoint, basically validating, because it's turned into an income property.
Right.
So it is easier to argue.
And who is UDOT?
What do you mean, who is UDOT?
Who pays UDOT?
No, I know, but that doesn't allow us to tie the hands of just
I know,
because those
I
guys
know.
can't get their crap
I'm saying,
together.
it's a catch-22.
Who owns that to the north of them? Right there, that lot there.
This is all owned by UDOT. It won't click on it because it's a public-owned property, but
Okay.
so 2000 West, and Mike, you can help me with this, but 2000 West used to come straight and then follow the I-15 over. You can see the old
Yeah.
road.
There. Around the old go-kart track that used to be
Yeah.
just west of there.
Right.
Yes. So UDOT still has all of this property in these areas. And this big one here that it won't click on.
I just wish they'd get their crap together, but
It's gonna get pretty rough.
I mean, they're working on it. It's,
Yeah.
they're actively trying to purchase property in the area, so.
When was the last time you talked to them about a purchase or sale?
we're on a monthly, conversation. We're there, yeah. It's pretty deep with where we're at.
If we approve this today, when are you gonna break ground? What's your goal to break ground? Are you,
Well, the soils, the guy selling topsoil there, he's going to need at least 6 months to a year to try to get that soil up there. We met with him. So that would be the time frame that would move through, is probably that 6 months to a year, depending on what his schedule is. We're working with him right now, to try to get that stuff removed.
other questions?
Is UDOT is the city of Lindon in contact with UDOT on these ramps? What?
Yes, at the end of the staff report, there's a letter from UDOT saying that, you know, they're actively working on this. They would, you know, they've got the funding to purchase the property. And so that rarely do they submit a letter to a city like that, but they wanted to know
Yeah.
how important this is to them.
Yeah, it seems very rare. We don't see that type of thing. And then the city is pushing them for this ramp to be sooner than later.
Yes.
Does our approval help the process any?
Yes.
I'm wondering if that's why UDOT says, then maybe that bumps it up on their list, right? They're like, if we don't buy this one versus the one down here, we're gonna lose this opportunity. So maybe that's another reason to approve it, is that then it puts a little pressure on UDOT. I'm assuming that,
Yes, correct. Yep.
because they could move forward with something that they'd have to tear down.
Well, what it does is basically it takes a lot of the argument out of the value that they're taking.
So it's better for them to take it now. It's
No.
better for UDOT.
If it's approved, it becomes more
Well,
valuable. to the
except that if
general.
this is approved, then they know, they're not gonna be arguing for the next 5 years over the value and turn into a condemnation and a taking.
Vacant piece of land.
You're dealing with real numbers.
And this piece of property may be on the bottom of the pile right now, and by us approving this, it could move it up to the top of the pile.
Well, you would hope it's on the top of the pile, cause that whole mess down there is greatly needed to
Yeah.
fix the circulation and infrastructure.
Yeah, I think it's at the top of the pile already because they've said they've got the corridor preservation funds available.
Which is pretty amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
those funds, they don't give those funds out easily. That with the chance that they're giving them, we ought to take them.
So. Okay, any other questions? I mean, I think we have all the we have questions about what UTOT's gonna do, but take that out, I think it's a beautiful building, and I would move for approval, so,
And the city's recommendation is to move forward on it.
That's correct.
so with that in mind, do I have a motion?
My computer went dead, but I'll make the motion. I move the.
Sorry, let me zoom it in for you.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks, Mike. I move to approve the applicant's request for site plan approval located at approximately 300 north, 2000 west, parcels 14-060-0024 and 14-060-005, with the following conditions. 1, the applicant will continue to work with city engineer to make all final corrections to the engineering plans. 2, the plans will meet development specifications as found in the Lindon City Development Manual. 3, if required, complete or post an adequate improvement completion assurance warrant and post required warranty assurance for all required public infrastructure improvements. 4, final building and site design will be constructed per the proposed renderings and meet the requirements of light industrial zone and applicable development requirements as found in Title 17 of the Lindon City Code. 5, the landscape plan will be updated to provide calculations for vegetation percentages and interior landscaping. 6, if required, any access or utility permitting will be secured through UDOT prior to the final site plan approval. 7, all items of the staff report.
And, I just realized I didn't do something. This probably won't change the motion at all, but I didn't have you guys introduce yourselves, and if you could sign in, just so we know for the record who we've been talking to.
My name's Mike Johnson.
I'm Toph Tribe, I'm on the architectural team. Kerry Johansson, the civil engineer.
Okay.
As 38% is the landscape, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Given the fact that we have no legal basis to deny this, I will second the motion.
I have a motion and a second.
Quick
Oh,
question.
real quick question.
So they will have to come back, if they want to build a building with
Right.
a second plan.
Yes, if they were just to sell a portion of the property to UDOT and the building was redesigned, they'll need to come back.
Start over, yeah, okay.
Any other questions with the motion and the second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Your site plan's approved. Good luck with all your negotiations and everything there. If you sell partial, we'll hope to see you back.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, we'll move on to item 6 of our agenda today. That is our Community Development Director report and Commissioners' reports.
Just to update you from the city council meeting on Monday, the 1200 East Road was,
Word that properly.
yeah, they kept it on the general plan, so.
With an attempt, with the desire to maybe try to mitigate some of the conflicts.
Yes, look at the design of the road, see if it can be moved to the north at all. And so we're actually meeting, I think, sometime this week, maybe even Monday or Thursday, or Wednesday or Thursday on that, so. Other than that, that's all I have right now, so.
Anything from the commissioners today? Okay.
Well, I guess we always have to, I guess we'd like take your view on the 700 corridor update.
Yeah,
Just one comment, I watched the city council
yeah,
meeting on Zoom and YouTube, and I was surprised that there were more in favor of leaving it on than there were against.
yeah, there was a mailer that went out with, to a lot of residents about keeping that on there. It was, I've never seen this building so packed. Like, I went out to tell people it would be another 10 minutes, and then little Miss Lindon, recognition would be moving out that door. There'd be more seats. I couldn't hardly make it out. There was so many people in that foyer. It was crazy.
KSL News was here, and they had to take the picture through the people, through the doorway.
Yeah. So, with 700 North, we did receive a draft development agreement last Friday that we're starting to go through. We're gonna meet with them on Friday to discuss some concerns that we have, so.
Is that gonna come through us? Unlike this last time, they bypassed us, went straight to council. Will
Yeah.
Will it come through us this time?
Yes, the development agreement would come through you, because they're asking for some changes in zoning and stuff like that. They'll need to amend the general plan as well, possibly the 700 North master plan. So, yeah, all that will come through you. You'll review the development agreement, some changes to the ordinance that the development agreement will cover, and a change to the general plan and master plan, so.
Anything else? Okay, I'll call for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The meeting is adjourned.
So, now that we're off the record, my personal opinion, why they're